Hello guys, my name is Adam Shadow, and today I will be talking about binary decoders in Minecraft. To explain you what binary encoding and decoding even is, because it's likely you never heard of it, it's basically the transferring of numbers, similar to in real life computers, in states of ones or zeros, or true, false, or however you want to call it, or powered, unpowered, in the case of these rails. And then doing something with them. Usually in storage tech we can use this to detach two parts of a storage from each other. For example, things that fill boxes and the places where these filled boxes should be stored. To do that, we simply first fill the box, send the number representing this box, and then decode it and unlock the right place or slice or however you want to call it where we put the stuff. To explain you how these things work, we should first look at encoders. This thing right here, if I swap the orientation of these three observers, this line here would actually be an encoder. It basically, if you power it, it will power the first, second, and third digit, which will equate to the number 7, but it will not power the other two digits. However, we also need to figure this number out, which is far more complicated. To do that, we simply use two sort of inverted encoders, where the digits themselves, in this case it's 1, 2, and 3 here, or rather from the opposite direction, but that doesn't matter, power one line. The reason why we use 2, this is the other one here, is because you want to make sure this thing does not power when, for example, a number like 1111 comes in, and for example 0 at the end. That would be 15. For that, we actually need to invert the signal. To invert the signal, there are many ways. I have here a full setup I just built. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I did not invent this, but I don't know, since there is literally one video I found about it, which you will have linked in the description. I found about it, I mean a version that does not use pistons, that push observers, because if you have pistons, or rather sticky pistons, like this, pushing observers, you can actually set a line of these and use decoders. The problem is you have to have a special layout of them. Let's say, I don't know, I just make it up right now, something like this. If you would somehow unload, let's say there's a chunk loader going through the middle of this, and you would unload one part of it and not the other one, this pattern would mess up. That's why these things are very risky to use, and they aren't even that great, to be honest, because they also add quite a bit of delay, and like I said, just the possibility of failure by simply moving your character somewhere else is a huge danger for a machine, because it would literally mean you have to rebuild the complete thing, which is an insane amount of work. since it's not one-line tileable. For example, if I would put here the number 6, you will see that the thing does not simply copy. Okay, let's put it like this. Like I said, you can make this one-line tileable. I'm just too lazy to do that right now, and it also allows me to claim that this works for instant wires, because they can't be one-line tileable. So this will be roughly how it looks for the number 6. We also have to change these. Of course, there is no set rule that you have to have the correct number at the bottom and the inversion of that number at the top. That's just how I build it right now. You could build it the other way around. So this is how number 7 looks, this is how number 6 looks, and the way you figure it out if you got the right number is if you take an observer detecting this line and you send all these digits at once, and this thing does not send power through. In that case, you know that you exactly send the right number that this slice represents. Here I have it set up so you can see. So for example, this is set to encode number 7. As you will see, the piston there will move when I flick the lever. However, if I would now remove this, this would now only be the number 3. As you can see, it's not powering. I don't know what these graphical glitches are. For some reason, it sometimes doesn't load the movement and sometimes it does. For that to be even able to tell, because that means you basically got a slice that does not power, but all the other ones power. There are various ways you can try and figure it out, like for example detect if the adjacent slice has been powered, but that's rather tricky. Probably the easiest way is to use another line here, because you also have to somehow tell usually the decoder that a number arrived, so it knows what to do. So that's this thing. I'm not sure if anyone has even built one like a decoder that does not use another digit, so that's quite sad. Maybe one day someone will figure it out. So, in order to explain how this stuff works, all that really happens is we send through both the original signal, that one goes through the top, and the inverted signal here through the bottom by moving these columns of blocks up and down. What happens is these, let's say these 3 activate, they push these 3 blocks down, which will send, and then after that, I think it's 2 game ticks or 4 game ticks, I don't remember the exact timings of this thing, I just built this for demonstration. We'll send the original number through. Like you can see, the edit line is really useful here. And here, at the same time, this is very important that these 2 power at the same time, this thing will send the inverted number. So you can see, let me do this manually. You can see, now when this line powers, here these three will send the signal, and these two will send the signal. Not these three, and not these two right here. That's very important. Then we also need to do the logic operation once it goes through this, like, I would say, like main part of the, I don't know if it's even correct to call it. Obviously, after the operation is done, the machine self-resets every time. It's quite important. And also the reset time is under 8 game ticks, which is really important for storage tag. It's not 4 game ticks, sadly, but maybe someone will figure out a 4 game tick version. But for that you probably need to either 0 tick pulse the pistons somehow, or just not use pistons at all, which is really complicated. Well, it's definitely doable. For this I use a really simple thing, where I push a block backwards, forwards. So let's say this is another digit. Normally this thing here would power, so the piston will end up here, or rather the block will end up here, which means the signal won't go through from this line. As you can see, this observer here powers it downwards like this. I think I messed this up previously by flicking the lever way too fast. Maybe this was not even a graphics glitch. Maybe this was me just being a little too excited about this. And obviously, after that operation happens, there is 2 game ticks which will push the block back. So only if this does not power, the signal will go through and, for example, power this node block right here, which obviously you can then detect with observers and do whatever you need to do with it. Or you can put a door there or whatever you need. You can probably even stack this vertically. Like I said, this is just for demonstration. So yeah, that's basically how this thing operates. Now let's talk why I'm even bothering with this. First of all, I could not find these things built, as I mentioned, and also I needed some that work for instant wires. These things here, they are basically way more advanced versions of the classic instant wires I showed and too known to name invented. These were made by a fellow Protec member called FX, and he came up with the idea to make instant wires that you can power anywhere. It doesn't matter the direction, because if you remember in my video, I explained to you guys that it matters from what direction you power it, or even the place where you power it. To avoid that allows you obviously to be way more flexible. These things are also way more stable. The idea in both of these is basically a, like, let's say, here you can see it really nicely, basically a generic instant wire. Like you saw this in my video. Well, of course you can put 5 block gaps. This is just for demonstration. And also, as you can see, there is an uneven number of these things and it still works, which is also really convenient. And there is another line below it, which gets powered by the same observers. I have to now make this actually work again. And now this thing, this bottom line, not this one actually, works as a perfect block update detector line, basically. As you can see, it's powering and depowering. It's also constant, like it always depowers and powers for the same time, even when going through chunk borders and things like that. Obviously it can be infinitely long, it's instant, just like the other instant wires. And here, this is basically the same thing, just inverted, pretty much. This one is actually even crazier because it doesn't even use this observer here. As you can see, this still works. I said it's insanely reliable. So I needed something that would work with these things, or at least the instant wires I showed off in my older video. And as you can see, this will easily fail if we try to put two of them next to each other, because they will block update each other. Just demonstrate. And now all I need to do is power this, and you will see it will activate the other one. Yeah, so if you would put two of them next to each other, they will either all activate at once, or they will just break and turn into a clock. Therefore you need these gaps here. Of course, this is not an instant wire which I have built up right here. It's mostly for demonstration. But I wanted to show you that this actually is possible. And I'm pretty sure this is the only one that works with instant wires I have ever seen. And of course it's also usable in the normal layout. Like you can put rails in these gaps, like there's nothing stopping you. Same, like these things, basically this sort of line going through is one-way tileable, so you can put one right next to each other. But it's really annoying to build, that's why I didn't do it right here. As you can see, even if it's set somehow incorrectly, it will always reset into the right position. In case you somehow unload it while it's going through chunks or whatever, the only thing that can happen is that these lines are somehow permanently powered, or if you are really dumb and you make pistons move through blocks through chunk borders, which you should always avoid, then this thing could also mess up. And usually it's just these rails. All you need to do in that case is have some sort of reset line that will power all of these pistons here at the bottom, or rather those that should reset everything, and power all of these lines at top, at the bottom. They will obviously then power all of these ones here. You may need to do this multiple times if you have like a set of where it stops and then it again is powered and then again not powered. That can actually happen. So all you need to do is then just send a few reset signals through the machine and it resets, which is infinitely easier to do than rebuilding the whole thing. So I hope you learned something from this, and now you understand that binary encoding and decoding is nothing too complicated. You just need to know how binary numbers themselves work in real life. And now you can also make your own encoders and decoders. In case you are worried, because this thing has a limited range, only 9 blocks, you just need to put, for example, 2 of them. Let me demonstrate it, I think, on this one. Here you have the output from one, and for example you can just mirror it and have the output from another one. And for example have some rails here, which are also somehow connected to the control line or something like that. So all you need to do is you just need to use multiple of these things I just demonstrated if you want to have more digits. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It really helps spread the knowledge I'm trying to explain to everyone. And have a good day.